Florence, Italy. Niccolo Machiavelli sits in exile, banned from the city he once served. Stripped of power, forgotten by former allies, left to rot in a countryside estate. Most men would break, most men would beg, most men would fade into obscurity. But Machiavelli did something else. He watched, he remembered, he wrote. And what he wrote changed the game of power forever. But here's what they don't tell you. The Prince, the book everyone knows, wasn't his most dangerous work. It was bait, a distraction. Because the real lessons, the ones that actually work, he scattered throughout his other writings, hidden in plain sight, encoded in stories about ancient Rome, disguised as historical analysis. And at the core of everything he discovered was one principle, one strategy so effective, so ruthless, so contrary to everything you've been taught, that most people will reject it immediately. Machiavelli called it the virtue of silence. Not the silence of weakness, not the silence of fear, the silence of power, the silence of someone who knows exactly what they're doing and refuses to telegraph it. Tonight we decode it. This is the Hidden Codex, where ancient strategy meets modern power. 1469 to 1527. Florentine diplomat, political theorist, master strategist. To the world, he's known for one phrase: the ends justify the means. But that's not what he actually wrote. That's a mistranslation, a simplification, a convenient lie that makes him easy to dismiss. What Machiavelli actually studied was survival. How the weak defeat the strong, how the few control the many, how empires rise and fall. Not through speeches, not through ideals, through strategy. Cold, calculated, invisible. For 14 years, Machiavelli served as second chancellor of Florence. He negotiated with kings, commanded armies, witnessed betrayals that would make your blood run cold. And when he lost everything, when he was tortured, exiled, and erased, he didn't write a memoir. He wrote a manual. Not for the powerful, for those who wanted to become powerful. And the first lesson he taught was the one nobody wants to hear. If you sense that power isn't about being the loudest person in the room, if you're tired of watching people who talk less achieve more, if you want to understand the invisible rules that actually run the world, subscribe to the Hidden Codex. Turn on notifications, because what comes next, most people will reject. Not because it's wrong, but because it's uncomfortable. Let's continue. Something so obvious, yet invisible. He noticed that the most powerful people in history rarely announced their intentions. They didn't explain, they didn't justify, they didn't seek approval. They acted. And by the time anyone realized what was happening, it was already done. He called this operating in silence, and he observed it everywhere. In Cesare Borgia, who conquered territories before his enemies even knew war had begun. In Pope Alexander VI, who manipulated the entire Italian peninsula without ever raising his voice. In the Roman generals who won battles through deception, not declarations. Machiavelli wrote in The Prince, "A wise ruler cannot and should not keep his word when such an observance would be to his disadvantage." Most people read that and think he's advocating for lying. They miss the point. Machiavelli isn't saying lie constantly. He's saying something far more dangerous. He's saying, don't make promises you can't control. Because every promise is a chain. Every announcement is a weakness. Every declaration is a trap you set for yourself. The moment you tell someone what you're going to do, you give them power over you. Power to sabotage, power to prepare, power to undermine. But if you stay silent, you remain unpredictable, untouchable, free. And in Machiavelli's world, freedom is the only real power. Machiavelli studied why good intentions fail, why honest people lose, why the righteous get crushed. And he found the answer. It wasn't because they lacked strength. It wasn't because they lacked intelligence. It was because they announced their goodness. They needed validation. They needed witnesses. They needed the world to know they were virtuous. And that need destroyed them. Machiavelli wrote in Discourses on Livy, "Men are so simple and so subject to present needs that he who deceives will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived." He wasn't celebrating deception, he was diagnosing reality. People want to believe. They want to trust. They want to think the world is fair. And that desire makes them vulnerable. So here's what Machiavelli observed. The virtuous man announces his virtue. The crowd applauds, and his enemies take notes. They study his patterns, exploit his consistency, weaponize his predictability. Because virtue, when advertised, becomes a cage. But the truly strategic person? They do good in silence. They act without announcement. They build without broadcasting. And when results appear, people are shocked. How did this happen? When did this happen? Who made this happen? And by the time they ask those questions, it's already too late to stop it. Let's say you want to build something, a business, a reputation, a position of influence. Most people do this. They announce it. I'm starting a business. I'm going to be successful. Watch me transform. And what happens? Opinions flood in, doubts multiply, energy drains. Friends offer unsolicited advice, family questions your decisions, competitors take notice, and 6 months later, nothing. The dream dies, not from lack of ability, but from exposure. But if you understand Machiavelli's principle, you say nothing. You work in darkness, you build in secret, you let progress speak for itself. No announcements, no updates, no explanations, just results. And here's what happens. Your energy compounds, your focus intensifies, your enemies don't know you exist until you've already won. Then one day you emerge, not with promises, with proof. And people don't just respect you, they fear you, because you did what they thought was impossible. And you did it without them even noticing. That's Machiavellian power. Invisible until it's undeniable. Something that still holds true today. He noticed that people judge you by two things: what you say and what you do. And when those two things conflict, they trust what you say, not what you do. This is the fatal flaw in human perception. We believe the narrative. We believe the explanation. We believe the story someone tells about themselves, even when their actions prove otherwise. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." This is the key. Appearance is everything. Reality is secondary. Most people waste energy trying to be genuinely good, genuinely honest, genuinely transparent. And they wonder why it doesn't work. It doesn't work because goodness without strategy is weakness. Honesty without timing is stupidity. Transparency without leverage is suicide. Machiavelli isn't saying, be evil. He's saying, control the story. If you appear generous, you don't have to be generous constantly. If you appear strong, you don't have to fight every battle. If you appear dangerous, you don't have to prove it. The appearance does the work for you. And meanwhile, in silence, you do what actually needs to be done. Machiavelli believed that morality is a luxury of the stable. When everything is going well, you can afford to be virtuous. You can afford to be kind, to be fair, to play by the rules. But the moment things collapse, morality becomes a liability. Because the person still clinging to morality loses to the person willing to adapt. Machiavelli wrote in The Prince, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Most people stop there. They think he's advocating cruelty. He's not. He's advocating survival. Because love is conditional. Love is fragile. Love depends on the other person's mood, their needs, their whims. But fear? Fear is consistent. Fear is predictable. Fear is controllable. The person who fears you doesn't betray you, not because they respect you, but because the cost is too high. And Machiavelli observed again and again that rulers who relied on love were overthrown by those they loved, while rulers who cultivated fear died in their beds. This doesn't mean be a tyrant. It means respect is built on consequences, and consequences require silence. Because the moment you explain your power, you dilute it. The moment you justify your decisions, you weaken them. But the person who acts without explanation creates a reputation that precedes them, a reputation that does the work, so they don't have to. The discourse is on Livy. Less famous, more dangerous. Because in The Prince, he wrote for rulers. In the discourses, he wrote for everyone else. For the strategist without a throne, the player without official power, the person who has to win, with nothing but their mind. And in that book, he revealed the deepest layer of his strategy. He called it The Advantage of Being Underestimated. Machiavelli studied the fall of Rome, and he noticed a pattern. The greatest generals weren't the loudest. They weren't the most decorated. They weren't the ones celebrated in public. They were the quiet ones, the ones who let others take credit, who deflected praise, who remained in the background, while accumulating real power. Because here's what Machiavelli understood. Fame is a trap. The moment people know you're powerful, they unite against you. Not because they hate you, but because you're a threat. But the person no one sees coming? They're unstoppable. Machiavelli wrote, Never attempt to win by force what can be won by deception. Not because deception is immoral, but because force is expensive. It costs energy, it costs resources, it costs attention. Deception costs nothing. Silence costs nothing. And invisibility is free. So the Machiavellian strategy isn't to dominate the room. It's to let others think they're dominating, while you control the structure underneath. You don't win the argument. You change the terms. You don't fight for the crown. You decide who wears it. You don't demand respect. You engineer inevitability. And when the dust settles, everyone wonders how it happened. But by then, you're already 3 moves ahead. He wasn't. He was teaching clarity. Because here's what he saw. The world operates on power, not fairness, not justice, not merit. Power. And the people who refuse to see that get destroyed by it. They believe in karma. They believe in hard work paying off. They believe that being good is enough. And then they lose. Not because they're weak, but because they're playing the wrong game. Machiavelli isn't saying, be ruthless. He's saying, be awake. See the game as it is, not as you wish it were. Understand that the rules everyone talks about aren't the real rules. The real rules are unwritten, unspoken, invisible. And the people who win are the ones who see them and operate accordingly, in silence. And this is the part they don't teach in schools. He discovered that power isn't something you take. It's something you allow others to give you. By controlling their perception, by managing their expectations, by staying silent when they expect you to speak. Because every time you speak, you reveal your position. Every time you explain, you show your weakness. Every time you justify, you beg for approval. But the moment you stop seeking approval, you become unapproachable. Not because you're cruel, but because you're sovereign. You don't need their validation. You don't need their agreement. You don't need them to understand. You just need them to move. And they will. Not because they want to, but because you've created a situation where moving is their only option. Machiavelli wrote, "The one who adapts his policy to the times prospers. The one who rebels against the times does not." This is the final lesson. Timing is everything. You can have the perfect strategy, the perfect plan, the perfect move. But if the timing is wrong, you lose. And the only way to master timing is to watch, in silence. While everyone else is talking, explaining, broadcasting, you're observing. You're learning patterns. You're identifying weaknesses. You're waiting for the exact moment when your action has maximum impact. And when that moment comes, you don't announce it. You don't warn anyone. You just act. And by the time they realize what happened, it's already over. Machiavelli spent his entire life studying power, not as a theorist, as a practitioner. He watched empires rise and fall. He saw leaders crowned and executed. He witnessed betrayals that rewrote history. And from all of it, he extracted one principle, one truth, one strategy that separates those who win from those who lose. Here it is. Power belongs to those who need it least. The moment you desperately want something, you've already lost it. Because desperation makes you loud, loud makes you predictable, predictable makes you controllable. But the person who wants nothing cannot be manipulated, cannot be pressured, cannot be stopped. And that's why Machiavelli's true strategy isn't about tricks or manipulation or deception. It's about detachment, the ability to walk away, the willingness to lose, the freedom to wait. Because the person who can wait controls time. And the person who controls time controls everything. Machiavelli wrote in his private letters shortly before his death, "I have learned more from silence than I ever learned from speaking." He wasn't talking about keeping secrets. He was talking about power, real power, the kind that doesn't need to prove itself, the kind that operates in the shadows, the kind that wins before the game even begins. And once you understand this, once you truly see what Machiavelli saw, you can't unsee it. You'll notice it everywhere. In politics, in business, in relationships. The loud ones always lose. The silent ones always win, not because they're smarter, but because they're patient. And patience in a world of noise is the ultimate weapon. It means Machiavelli is asking you to pay attention, not to what people say, but to what they don't say. Not to the headlines, but to the silence between them. Because power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need to. It just is. And the question is, are you willing to stop performing Are you willing to stop explaining? Are you willing to stop seeking validation from people who don't even understand the game you're playing? Or will you keep broadcasting your every move until there's nothing left to protect? Machiavelli chose silence, and he became immortal. The question now is, what will you choose? Something most refuse to see. Not because it's complicated, but because it's uncomfortable. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that changes you. Forever. You start noticing who talks too much, who announces too early, who seeks approval they don't need. And you realize, those people are already losing. They just don't know it yet. But you do. And that knowledge is power. The question now is, are you ready for that power? Or will you look away? Most people look away, but you're still here. So maybe you're different. If this opened your eyes to something hidden, hit that subscribe button. Because here at the Hidden Codex, we don't stop at the surface. We go deeper, into the silence, into the strategy, into the truth they tried to bury. Next time, we'll explore something even darker, the hidden teachings of Carl Jung, what he found in the unconscious, and why it terrified him. You don't want to miss that. Until then, stay silent, stay strategic, stay sovereign.